This program was produced by and first broadcast on Radio Hawke's Bay, a community access media station. Thank you to New Zealand On Air for making this type of programming possible.
I'm a dreamer of 3D pictures.
Kia ora everyone. Welcome to the very first episode, Unravelling the Mysteries of Dyslexia. I'm Nikki Palamountain, business owner and facilitator at Dyslexia Unpuzzled, Hawke's Bay. My mission is to remove learning barriers and change lives. I am a learning enhancement specialist. My role is to find out what is holding either yourself or your child back from progressing in their learning and finding a next step forward so that learning can be a discovery rather than the interminable battle that I'm aware many of you face on the daily. Firstly, a bit of background about me. I am a registered teacher of over 30 years experience, originally hailing from Central Hawke's Bay, attending Takapau Primary and Central Hawke's Bay College in Waipukurau. But then I left and went to Palmerston North to train. I have taught in various roles over my years of teaching, largely in Wanganui, but also locally in Hawke's Bay since 2007. I was content that this was my lot. It paid the bills and I was doing the job I trained for and did the best I could. However, something always puzzled me. I couldn't understand why. If I was doing the job I was trained for in the way I was trained, how was it that some kids I taught just never succeeded? I would go over the book time and again, laboriously sit with them, helping them to sound out and decipher the words, then shrugging it off and telling myself their parents will help them sort it out at home. I had done my bit. Throughout some of the years I had been teaching, I recalled the tears and the tantrums that had occurred in the classroom during writing, or, heaven forbid, other disruptive behaviours that had occurred during lessons when the kids were supposed to be completing their inverted commas story, or maths, or reading activities. I could never figure out why this was repeatedly occurring by the same kids. I got it that sometimes my writing lessons and other lessons were a little pale, but I couldn't understand the adverse reactions from these kids. What was I missing? It was especially tough, and I remember feeling heartbroken at the end of the year, especially when I was teaching at intermediate level. These kids that were funny and smart and sporty and creative in every other area of their schooling, except the ones that involved words or numbers. How was this? It always puzzled me. As we said goodbye to them at the end of the year, often these same kids were holding on to the certificates and awards that they had received in one or more of their other areas of talent. We would give each other a hug and thank each other for the contributions and the impressions that we had made on each other's lives during that year. It was always a precious and important time, but one that would often leave me feeling empty, as I knew in my heart that I had let them down with their learning, and they would struggle again next year, even harder than they had this year. Again, why? The question lingered heavily and remained unanswered. Fast forward to a little more recent time. We all remember the lockdown of 2020. Little did I know 2020 was to be a life-changing year. It was about 6 weeks after lockdown in 2020. My husband passed away suddenly. It was a poignant moment and completely life-changing, leaving me not only in a whirlwind of grief, but an incredible uncertainty as to what my future looked like. this was not the life we planned. We were planning an early retirement, me working part-time and us travelling around the country together in our camper van, living the life and seeing the sights, our own business at home ticking over and an income coming in. And then he, of course, would have his coveted gold card, the prize that he had been working towards his whole working life. This, however, was no longer the option. Somewhere in the desolation of grief and despair, possibly in the middle of the night, I had a revelation. I now had the opportunity and the power to decide what I really wanted to do with my life. Teaching had been my lifelong career and all I knew. What else could I do? However, existing in the familiar was no longer an option for me, as there was no familiar anymore. But what did I want? What could I do? Somewhere in the midst of the 2020 Christmas hoo-ha and festivities, and quite out of the blue, dyslexia came to mind. You've always wanted to work with those kids with learning barriers and the kids who were struggling. You can do it now. But how? I had no clue and didn't know what to do. What a ridiculous thought. Really? Could I really do this? I rang a friend of mine who I had previously mentored. She trained in dyslexia in 2006 and was loving what she was doing and had encouraged me to think about doing it too, as I'd be great, according to her. Really? I shrugged off the idea and shelved the thought. I have no idea when or how that thought came back to me, but from that moment on, I absorbed myself in learning all I could about dyslexia. Other people over the Christmas holiday break were reading holiday romances and adventure stories. I had my head stuck in books about dyslexia and learning challenges, and I read them prolifically. I had found my passion. I trawled the internet and found a course where I could help people with dyslexia. I wanted in. I rang the lady whose name appeared at the bottom of the screen, who told me there was another course starting in April. No, that couldn't be right. I was sure there was one that started earlier. She told me that the course I was talking about had started that day. This was lunchtime on that day, and I begged her to put me on the course. Miraculously, she agreed. I paid the money, and there I was beginning a whole new world that I wasn't sure I was ready for, but at 59 I was going back to study. During this course and all I was learning, I felt astounded that as a teacher I was unaware that there were kids I had taught that had dyslexia. How could I not have known? How could I not have realised how huge the struggle was for those with symptoms of dyslexia? I'd spent years wondering why some kids in my class just never got reading and battled with their reading day after day without realising for a moment that dyslexia was a thing. We'd had a training on dyslexia at Teachers College, a morning's lecture as I recall, telling us how some kids got words mixed up and letters didn't sit on the line for them correctly. We were told that we would really find kids in our classes and so not to worry too much about it. Really? Was dyslexia really a thing? How incredibly impossible would it be for anyone trying to read with words or letters tumbling and revolving or sliding off the page? Can you imagine for a second the intense concentration that it must have taken someone who is perceiving letters like this to try to read a text? One girl I came across in my case studies who told me that the O's danced around like a disco ball on the page. How many times does an O appear on an ordinary page of text, I ask you? How difficult would this have been for her? Was that the why the kids I had perceived that I had failed had not been able to read with any fluency or understanding, or write without their words transferring on the page as gobbledygook? And worse, when the kids showed me their writing, thinking I was doing the right teacher thing and correcting their mistakes, the piece of writing that they had put their time and effort into, without realising that with every stroke of my red pen I was eroding their sense of self-worth and reinforcing their not enoughness, I was not helping them at all. My own son was among one of these people. Unbeknown to me, really. He was a prolific reader. There couldn't have been a problem with his learning, could there? He read everything. Sadly, he was one of those kids who really struggled with writing. What was supposed to be my strength to help others turned out to be a barrier when trying to help him. I simply didn't feel equipped. Opting instead to send him to a fancy school that promised the earth and delivered nothing, except for him laborious hours of extra tutoring, copying from a board that did little to help him with his writing. He struggled really badly and told me years later that he said, "Those tutorials, Mum, were such a waste of time. I couldn't tell what was a B or a D or a G, flipping and turning on the board. It did make no sense to me, and copying it down just made my writing look like a spider had crawled across the page." Fast forward to now, and I having lived and breathed my learnings about dyslexia and other special learning difficulties for the last 3.5 years, I now know there is no such thing as a reluctant reader or writer, or a shocking speller, or someone else who's just bad at maths. There is a reason that these people struggle in these areas. Put simply, they are not perceiving the letters and words the same way we are. We have no way of knowing how the text on the page is appearing to them. We cannot see it from their eyes. So, what now? How is this relevant to you? There are so many kids in our schools. There are so many kids in our schools like that with dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, and other special learning differences. Misunderstood kids, as I like to call them, often not bad enough for any teacher aid or other support. Bright, funny, intelligent and quirky kids that struggled mercilessly with words and often numbers too, often put into lower groups that just made them feel undervalued. These kids not meeting the right criteria to qualify for any funding. The teachers not knowing or not understanding why they cannot remember a word they learned yesterday, or still missing that same word out of the story they read yesterday, or writing that same word in 3 or 4 different ways throughout their writing. Unable also to remember the rules or sounds that associated with the letter, or that combination of letters. Their school day, a day of struggle, confusion, frustration, and often anxiety. Unfortunately, and far too often, a downward spiral for these kids. Their self-esteem slowly eroding day by day. Frustration and anxiousness, and their not enoughness being reinforced daily. So, how can I help? Well, I can help in 3 ways. Firstly, I do one-to-one learning assessments. I do this to get to the root cause of your child's learning struggles. Through a series of questions, simple tests and activities, I am able to establish what is happening for your child and what is stopping them from learning. I cannot stress enough how important this step is to you as a parent and the child to have the understanding as why learning is so difficult for them. Secondly, as part of your assessment, I analyse the results and I write a comprehensive report that you can share. You can share it with the principal, you can share it with the RTLBs, you can share it with your teachers. This gives your teachers the understanding so they are aware of what is happening for you. With the recommendations I give them, these people are more than able then to accommodate you better within the classroom and the school. Having a report is also essential if you are wishing to apply for any funding or apply for a reader-writer to help you with your secondary or tertiary education. This then allows you the clarity to make firm decisions about your next step forward, and we figure out together what that next step looks like and how other people or myself can best support you. Thirdly, I'm a licensed Davis program facilitator. Completing a program with me is like getting a year's worth of tutoring intensively over 1 to 2 weeks, enabling you to quickly and effectively overcome your learning barriers. When you do the program, you are taught tools and strategies so you can eliminate the errors and uncertainties in your reading and writing. Imagine if you possessed a strategy so you can confidently spell challenging words, even those words that you've never encountered before. What if there was a way that you effortlessly recognize words in your reading so you can be fluent and comprehend what you read? How good would it feel for you to write if you could write on a page with legible writing so you can convey your thoughts with precision and clarity? Imagine what would change for you if you had the understanding so you can manipulate numbers in a way that you are confident that your answer would be accurate. The program I do is tailored to your specific learning needs and your personal goals. The program is done one-to-one and teaches you lifelong tools and strategies so you can remove the confusion and have the clarity within your learning. Some of the results I have seen thus far is a 10-year-old boy. He was 3 years behind earlier this year when I began working with him in May this year, to now where he is caught up to his peers and is beginning to grow and learn, and his teachers are so proud of what he is able to achieve and how far he has come in that short time. Another 10-year-old boy whose writing looked like chicken scratchings on a page and his letters floating on the line and all over the place, to now being neat and precise, and even his teacher insists that his handwriting is way better than the teacher's own. Both of these boys are now learning without the previous struggles that they had, and their self-confidence has soared. For anyone who is keen to delve deeper into my services I have to offer, I would like to extend an invitation to reach out for a complimentary connection call. In this conversation, I answer any questions and address your concern using simple, straightforward language. If you are wanting to know more, feel free to book a 30-minute consultation with me. please check my website, dyslexiaunpuzzled.co.nz, for contact details and book a consultation, or alternatively, just private message me. Check my social media pages, Dyslexia Unpuzzled on Facebook, and Nikki Palamountain, together one word, all lowercase, on Instagram, Facebook and TikTok. There you'll find informative little tips, the occasional video, and hopefully some learnings and information to help you. Also on LinkedIn, I'm under Nikki Palamountain. I'm here to help you remove your learning barriers and change your life. I really appreciate you listening to me this afternoon. I thank you for tuning into Radio Hawke's Bay today and listening to me as we unlock the mysteries of dyslexia. Until our next episode, when we discuss what dyslexia actually is, what do you need to know as a parent? What do you need to be able to help yourself or your child? I also hope to have some visitors come and just talk with us in the studio. Till next time, Nikki Palamountain, Dyslexia Unpuzzled, removing learning barriers and changing lives.
I'm a dreamer of 3D pictures. I'm a traveler of a different kind. I'm a builder, I'm a designer, I'm an actor. The stage is mine. This is my gift. This is who I am. Finding my place in this life. It ain't always easy, but I'm not afraid. We're all unique in our own way. This is my gift. This is who I am. I hear the process. I see my thoughts. I view the feeling. With my mind's eye, I'm a creator. I'm an investor. I'm an artist. The world is mine. This is my gift. This is who I am. Finding my place in this life. It ain't always easy, but I'm not afraid. We're all unique in our own way. This is my gift. This is who I am. There was a time I'd hide in shame. The system seemed to forget me, but now I see the system change. This is my gift. It's who I am. Finding my place in this life. It ain't always easy. I'm not afraid. We're all unique in our own way. This is my gift. This is who I am. Finding my place in this life. It ain't always easy, but I'm not afraid. We're all unique in our own way. This is my gift. This is who I am.
This program was produced by and first broadcast on Radio Hawke's Bay, a community access media station. Thank you to New Zealand On Air for making this type of programming possible.